Come on in, guys. We got to talk. It's something going on in Texas. These floods are crazy. Checking in to check on all of my Texas people. And we're going to talk about some other things too. Come on in, guys. Come on in. This is a pop up live. This is a pop up live. You should have your notifications turned on YouTube so that you'll know when I go live. When I pop up on here, you all should be ready. Okay? Y'all know sometimes I pops up. Sometimes I pops out. Come on in, guys. Come on in. Let's talk. We're going to talk about these floods that's going on in Texas and, of course, some other issues because I haven't been on here in about 3 days, maybe. But we're going to cover some other things too. Just talk. We're going to just talk here. Okay? Come on in. I am going to talk about birthright citizenship again because people are so confused. We are also going to discuss how people are now trying to be Black. Everybody wants to be a Black American now that the birthright citizenship is on the table with this big, beautiful bill. It's a lot of delusion going on in these streets. So click like when you come in, share the live, and we are about to get started. They out here scheming, y'all. They are out here scheming. But before we get into that, I was looking at all this flooding that's going on in Texas. Did they break? Did a dam or something break? It's giving a dam broke, y'all. Let's watch some of this coming out of Texas.
I spent a lot of time as a kid. Camp Rio Vista. This all hits very close to home. There's so much bad news to go around. If there's any good news to find, it's that Lake Travis is finally climbing significantly. I want to say for the first time since the October 2018 floods of the Llano River. It's up 13 feet since just last night. It's now 59% full, up to 651 feet of elevation. The fact that it's 59% full is good news. Any additional flooding can still be captured by Lake Travis and Lake Buchanan. 64% full there. These are not falling. These are rising quickly. But there's still room to capture more floodwater. This, by the way, is how this entire flood system was designed. Lake Travis, Lake Buchanan constructed to capture and prevent floodwater from inundating the city of Austin, which historically was a major problem. Washed out 2 dams where Tom Miller Dam currently stands. But now it's working in our favor, capturing the floodwater, and we can store that for future use. Reminder that this has been a multi-day event that expands through much of the hill country. Of course, that bullseye of rain that came down yesterday morning in Kerr County and led to the catastrophic flooding on the Guadalupe River. I want to draw your attention first to this bullseye of 20 inches of rain. These numbers continue to update every 15 minutes or so live on TV. And this number continues to climb because it's still raining there. That is 2/3 of a year's worth of rain. In Austin, we usually get 36 inches of rain in an entire year. So this amount of rain, mostly falling since midnight, is unbelievable. Northwestern Mason County, another bullseye of close to 20 inches of rain. This is benefiting Lake Buchanan, but it takes a lot longer for that water to get here because it goes up through McCullough County, San Saba County, through San Saba. The San Saba River goes into the north, that meets up with the Colorado River before dropping into Lake Buchanan, which is just now starting to see the bulk of its elevation increase. But it could, I don't want to conjecture too much, it could possibly fill up with this event. It's that much water. Record-setting flooding on the San Saba River over the last couple of days, and that flood water is just now making it down to Lake Buchanan. It doesn't take a meteorologist to identify that tropical swirl that is still just stuck here in central Texas. And this is just a one-hour
hurricane, huh? Somebody said it's a hurricane.
Here for days now, slowly crawling its way from the Rio Grande River Valley out in southwest Texas. As we speak, it is still raining heavily in these flash flood warning areas, especially over Marble Falls. We even have some lightning indicated here, which is harder to get in a really tropical environment like we have, but is indicative of some exceptionally heavy rainfall rates. And because of how slowly it's moving, I'll have to check, Wouldn't surprise me if Marble Falls has picked up an inch in the last 15 minutes. That's how heavy this rainfall can be. It's still raining heavily over Lake Travis, the northwest side of Travis County. This is moving slowly down towards Spicewood. All of these areas are already under flash flood warnings, and in this shaded area up here, that's the flash flood emergency. Rarely issued by National Weather Service offices, and this is the second one they've had to issue in the last 24 hours. The first one, of course, being over there in Kerr County with the devastating flooding yesterday morning.
Load on in, guys. We got to talk.
Here's Austin, downtown Austin. This is indeed some heavy tropical rain. I know it doesn't look quite as intense, but because of how much moisture these showers have to work with, they're very efficient rain producers. So that is indeed some heavy rain snaking its way in through Westlake into the west side of downtown Austin. We have not seen any significant flooding in the central Austin area just yet. There was a lot of heavy rain earlier, led to a quick but not significant rise on Shoal Creek, Walnut Creek, Little Walnut Creek. Those run up here through northeast side of North Austin. This additional rain could cause those creeks to swell again. That's why there's a flood warning in effect. We don't want you driving. We don't want you trying to navigate through this because our first responders are busy helping a lot of other people out, a lot of which have had their homes destroyed today by this flooding. Also want to highlight your attention over here towards the hill country, Llano County, some isolated, very heavy rain development.
So here are the counties that are currently under disaster. I guess they have already counted these counties: Bandera, Comal, Concho, Gillespie, Kendall, Kerr, which I think the flood that happened yesterday was Kerr, Kimball, Llano, Mason, McCullum, Menard, Reeves, San Saba, and Tom Green. What is going on? Is people dead, missing, children missing? Look, they said some girls was at the camp. The girls at the camp are missing. Some of them are missing. Some of them are missing. And I hate to be this person, guys. I just really hate to be this person. I don't even know whether I should say this or not. But does anybody check the weather before they start putting, I don't know. Because if it's a hurricane, then you see a hurricane coming. Also, can somebody riddle me why? Because they said the girls was at I hate to be like this. I don't even know whether I should say this or not with so many people missing in this area, but it just piqued my attention when they said it on the news that the camp is called Camp Mystic and it's a Christian camp. Like, for one, who would name a Christian camp Camp Mystic? And for two, then y'all check the weather before y'all send them little girls out there. I don't know. Oh, they said there was no warning about the rain. Please click like in here, guys. Let's click like, share the live. I'm frequency keeping the rain. I'm dizzy and bad headaches. Susu. Some going on. When I say I don't really have a lot of headaches and stuff. All this week I've been like headached out. Like when I was on here earlier this week, I told y'all I didn't feel good. Like my head is just like I don't know what's going on. Something going on. You know, usually when it's that time of the month, like sometimes I have headaches then, but for the most part, I don't really get bad headaches. And you know, when I get bad headaches like that, I don't like to eat. I don't like to do none of that. But you need the energy, but it's something going on. It could be some frequency stuff. Could be some weird frequencies. You know, all we can do is look at the weather radar. And that's why I kind of I'm looking at this news here, but I was looking for my guy. He's an independent weather radar guy. And a lot of times when you look at the independent weather radar guys, they look at everything on the radar. They look at energy. They look at the frequency. They look at the what you call it, lasers. They can look at lasers and everything on the radar. So I like the independent guys a lot. I tend to like the independent guys a lot. But let's watch some more of this.
Is getting started over there in the southern end of Llano County. We'll have to watch this and any new storms that develop because this area, water soaked. The soil doesn't have any more room to store any of this water, so it's all going to run off into the creeks and streams.
Yes, max velocity.
To some additional flooding. I think the worst of it's behind us. Trying to find some positives here. But the flood threat does remain. I want you to stay at home. I want you to stay safe. I want you to stay off the roads if at all possible, but please continue to be very highly tuned to the situation. We have at least 6 to 8 more hours of flooding concerns with that watch extended until 10 p.m. We'll have more momentarily. For now, let's get back to Adela and Allison.
All right, more information right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at the outage map for Austin Energy. And we are seeing, I think, about 1,600. That number's pretty small there in the corner. Outages, power outages right now. Encore also reporting thousands of power outages as this weather continues to swirl around central Texas. And we are keeping an eye on the power outages along with every other effect of this ongoing disaster. I do want to add that the Kerrville Public Utility Board is saying that they have made progress in restoring power in the Hunt area. So this was the area that was washed out yesterday morning, and along with the summer camps and those RV parks being washed away, of course, that took out some power poles as well. They say up to Riverbend and Breakfast, covering the Riverbend Ranch subdivision, Camp Stewart, and the Honey Creek Road area. That's where crews have restored power. This is in Kerrville. In the meantime, what you're looking at on your screen is Austin Energy showing where there are power outages. So as we continue to see this weather move through central Texas, we are going to keep an eye on the power outages as well. And 3 dead due to Travis County floods as we continue our coverage.
And several still missing. Emily Miranda is live near, you were near the Shoal Creek area, and I believe at last check, Emily, you were saying the water was receding, but as we just heard from Avery, can't let our guards down because more rain is headed our way.
Look at this.
And Allison, that's a great point you make about more rain because right now it's starting to come down on us again. Now we're currently off of Shoal Creek Boulevard, and I'll give you a look outside because we've stopped right over the creek. And as I mentioned, you can see that it is still flowing very rapidly. Now we're in the neighborhoods that during the last major storm, we saw this creek coming up into people's backyards. One of the things that I will say right now, as we've been driving around through here, we haven't seen the water coming across the roadways like we did last time. So that's a good sign right now. But of course, this, as Avery has mentioned, this situation is changing out here. But if you take a look at the creek again, you can see just how rapidly it's flowing. On our way out here, we passed the park and we saw several people stopping to look at this creek. And I'm just going to keep hitting on this every time you guys come to me, but please, you're being asked, don't come out here and look at this because this situation is changing and it only takes 1 second for something to happen. And we have our emergency crews who are out and about trying to help people who are in situations that need to get out of their house. So please stay home if you need to. If you need to be out on the roads, try not to be, because as we've been driving around, the water is again starting to accumulate on the roads, and it's not the best conditions for driving. And then as we continue to say and continue to hit on, turn around, don't drown. And we're going to keep
turn around, don't drown,
especially as the rain's coming back down, just to see how much this creek changes within the next few minutes, and hopefully it stays far enough away from the back of these people's houses where they're not going to have to experience.
So I'm gonna go back to this one. I look at these,
but we'll keep it up to date.
I like looking at a lot of the independent guys too, like Max Velocity. He is, let me see, when did he report on
with the Southeast, which is an area
let's see. He went live, said a storm is rapidly developing. Let's see which storm he was talking about here.
storm is coming to the United States over the next few days, which will bring the potential for more severe weather, including damaging winds, large hail, and a few tornadoes. Additionally, we are expecting a heat wave to continue across much of the United States as we go into next week, which will bring the potential for record-breaking high temperatures. So in today's forecast, we are going to break down exactly what you need to know about the weather that'll be impacting the United States over the next 7 days. And we'll begin with what's happening across the country today, beginning with the southeast, which is an area that we've been keeping an eye on, as there is a chance of a tropical depression or storm forming over the next few days. Actually, Invest 92L is located just off the east coast of Florida. This may become a brief tropical storm as it kind of meanders up the east coast over the next few days, bringing heavy rainfall and maybe even a low chance for some higher waves and even some rip currents due to the power of this storm system that may end up becoming our next tropical storm. That would be our third named storm so far of the season. Back over in the southern plains and back through the southwest, we got a lot of moisture right now across Texas, back into the Four Corners states. This will help to elevate the potential for localized flooding, very low risk of severe weather for the next few days. And then back over in the northern plains is an area that we are keeping a very close eye on the potential for severe weather, which will begin today and run all the way into this weekend and early next week, with all hazards of severe weather on the table.
It's the thing. How was he able to? He's not even a meteorologist. He's like a student. How was he able to call that it would flood down in Texas before the people who get paid to do it was able to call it? Because they wouldn't have had the girls in the camp if they would have known it would have been flooding, right? In Camp Mystic. They need, first of all, change the name of the camp, because it's giving Knights of the Round Table with all this mystic stuff at a Christian camp. It's giving Holy Alliance, is giving. Anyway, how was he able to call it and everybody else weren't? Why wasn't Texas able to tell their citizens, hey guys, flash flooding could be coming because there's a storm sitting directly over us?
Expecting the potential for significant severe weather for today, which is obviously the 4th of July. Definitely a day that you want to be staying weather aware across areas like the northern and central plains and even back into the Midwest. And we'll talk more about that here in just a moment. Now let's talk more about the weather pattern that'll be impacting the United States over the next 7 days. And to look at that, we are going to look at our mid-level flow, which is in the 500 millibar level. Right now, we have a shortwave trough that is moving across the northern plains and another one right behind that back over in the Pacific Northwest. And this storm system right here is actually what's going to bring the potential for some severe weather today, including the threat of scattered to numerous storms across the northern and central plains and back into the Midwest, which may disrupt 4th of July plans. We're going to talk more about that here in a moment. As we go into this weekend, that storm system will move across the Great Lakes with isolated severe weather for the Midwest on Saturday. And then as we go into late Saturday and into Sunday, we got another shortwave trough that is going to move across Montana and Wyoming. This will bring another threat of severe weather across the northern plains back into the Rockies on Sunday. And then eventually, as we go into Monday and into Tuesday, that storm system will move into the Midwest. May see some isolated severe weather linger for the Midwest and the Ohio Valley on Monday. And then eventually by Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, we are likely going to be seeing a big ridge forming back over in the Pacific Southwest. And if this does end up happening, I think things will start to get at least a little bit quieter across the southeast. But this right here is northwesterly flow. And usually when this happens, we start to get into our mesoscale convective system season, which basically means lines of thunderstorms. And this can sometimes bring the potential for derechos this time of the year, especially in July.
Don't mix pink salt with lemon.
Shout out to Max Velocity. I ain't gonna play a whole video. Shout out to Max Velocity. That kid is he's really good at calling these weather patterns. If it's too windy outside, or if it looks like it's about to storm, like he goes. I guess it's a group of them. They got storm chasers and everything, and they are able to go into the live cameras in those cities and say, hey, if you're in this neighborhood, get out. I mean, they go the extra mile. The stuff that the people on the news, they do not do. These people go the extra mile. These independent meteorologists here on YouTube, they go the extra mile. They're looking at the radar by the neighborhood, telling people to get out when it's tornadoes and stuff happening. Like, because a lot of times these people aren't sending hey, flood watch, or hey, tornado. They're not sounding the alarm like when that tornado hit St. Louis that day, and they did not sound the alarm on those people. These guys were on YouTube literally telling people in St. Louis, get out, go to your safe places because it's a tornado on y'all right now. It's a tornado headed y'all way right now. But the people in St. Louis didn't know who max velocity was. They didn't know who no max velocity was. That's, that area that got hit, that black area up there that got hit. They didn't know who this guy was. But I feel like more lives would have been saved. And if I want to get on my conspiracy side, I feel like sometimes they want areas to be totally destroyed in some of these storms, and they don't want people to be alerted. That's why they don't send out the flood alerts or the tornado alerts in some areas, because they want these areas and these people gone. It's a quicker way to get people gone. But this is my conspiracy side. Everybody is not. There's some evil people out here doing some evil stuff. It ain't no way. Y'all didn't know that storm was coming. It ain't no way. Unless a dam broke in Texas, it's no way this many. I think 30 something people died today with the Guadalupe River. Ain't no way. It is no way that many people died. And y'all didn't know. Somebody need to get fired. Somebody need to get fired at this point. I haven't been on here in a while. A few days. I want to talk about something else too. So if you're in Texas, man, be careful. If you're in Texas, be very careful. Just y'all stay in the house, chill out. They had to rescue a DoorDash driver today in Texas because you was about to get stuck in the flood water trying to deliver an order. Get in the house, sit down somewhere, chill out. Get somewhere safe on the mountain, on the, the highest peak in the city, and chill out. Don't try to get the DoorDash and everybody who trying to order Instacart. Y'all chill out with these orders. That's wild. That's wild. Yes, Auntie, yes. He usually collaborates with the storm chasers. They have a whole network here on YouTube of weather meteorologists, and they are doing a great job. They're doing a great job warning people. They say you can check out Stephen Burns as well. He reports on space weather and its impact on earthquakes, storms, and effects on people and the electrical grid. I didn't know about him. Stephen Burns. Yeah, who needs power in 3 feet of water? Exactly. We got bigger fish to fry right now. The home is flooding. Okay, let's look at let me pull up Stephen Burns. Okay, yeah, look like I've seen him before. Earth's deadly radiation belts are supercharged. This was 4 days ago. He might be right, but what radar is he looking at? What radar is he looking at, I wonder? How is he able to tell that? That can't be a weather radar. Let me see. This was 4 days ago. Let me see. Y'all, let me play this real quick. Let me see what this guy talking about. Hold on, hold my mute. We gotta see what this guy talking about. Who is this Stephen Burns guy?
Radiation belts.
Hold on.
Hey everyone, geophysicist Stefan Burns. We now have supercharged radiation belts. This is a specific energy level around the planet. I consider the Earth being like a energy onion. There's these different shells of energy going from the core to the mantle to the crust to the atmosphere, and then out into space you have the radiation belts, and they can have variable flux. So there can be a high amount of electrons and a high amount of protons. There can also be a very low amount of these extremely high energy relativistic particles, meaning that they are traveling near the speed of light. Because Earth's magnetic field acts as a particle accelerator. Well, what we're seeing right now in terms of the flux in the radiation belts is something that we don't see all that often, especially during solar minimum. We are right now in solar maximum. We just had a big push of electrons into the radiation belts from this high-speed stream impact, and we have a coronal mass ejection impact probably coming in the next 24 hours. It looks like we have a pretty surefire hit coming in. I can show you that with our coronagraph here, and this is differential, and you can see this push come out on all sides right there. So it's a weak partial halo coronal mass ejection that launched from the sun towards the Earth. And these sort of solar storm impacts, what they do is they cause the radiation in the belts, these electrons and protons and other relativistic particles, to then rain down and precipitate into those deeper energetic layers. So that would be the ionosphere, the uppermost part of the atmosphere. It's about 1% plasma, whereas everything in the radiation belts is basically plasma. And then even down into the atmosphere, like the troposphere where we live, and then down into the crust. Because once you enter the ionosphere and hit that region, about 50 kilometers up during daytime, but really strongly at 300 kilometers, going all the way to 1,000 though, above the surface, then you can start to create these really powerful electric currents and alter the electric field potentials. And now you have a strengthening of the global electric circuit. You can increase the atmospheric conductivity profile that can alter local weather systems. We see traveling ionospheric disturbances, sometimes before, during, and after earthquakes, like immediately afterwards. And so it can change a lot of things closer to the surface. So the radiation belts are worth paying attention to. And this is really interesting because it's a perfect example. Look how charged up they got. Let me actually pause the video at the very end there. I mean, this is, we don't see them reach charge levels all that like this.
I'll let your commercial play.
They are supercharged right now. And it's really clear because we have this high-speed stream impact coming in, and then we see them immediately charge up. So let's actually break down that chart. Hello and welcome everyone. I'm your host, Stefan Burns, geophysicist, space weatherman, and more. What we cover on this channel is what's happening energetically on Earth at any given moment by examining all the factors. We look at everything. So geologic events like earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, also geophysical energies, Schumann resonances, how they change. These overlap with us biologically, also mentally, and perhaps even consciously.
It's probably why I had a headache that day. This is the exact day I had that terrible headache. I felt bad. What the hell is going on with me? It ain't nothing I ate. It ain't how I was sleeping. What is this? Why is my head hurting so bad? Am I frustrated? I said, well, maybe it's because I'm looking into the the computer screen all day. I said, maybe that's why my head hurt. That's what I just chumped it up to being. And I told my sister, I said, I don't really ever feel like this. And I said, well, maybe it's because of the computer. I've been looking at the computer screen all day for the past blah, blah, blah. She said, yeah, maybe it's the computer screen. And I was like, yeah, okay, well, I'll go get the blue glasses this weekend so I can. Could be what he talking about right here. My brain just love how he just explained that. This is interesting, guys. This is interesting. Yeah, this is very interesting. I watch him a lot. He's been talking about the sun being at solar max. That's interesting. Hey, Divine. Both him and Max my favorite. Yeah, I just subscribe to him because I love how he just explained that. You know, I haven't been looking at that part of the Earth about how the physics work. But guys, all of it is important. And I always wondered whether the satellites in space could actually manipulate these fields, this ionosphere. I always wondered that, but it's so far in the back of my mind because I got so much other stuff to do to be warned about the ionosphere. But the fact that it is someone on here explaining it is great because a lot of people with science backgrounds don't. It seems like they just go to work and go home. They're not, a lot of them aren't on YouTube or the internet, period. People just go to work and go home. When actually, people like Max Velocity, he makes more money than the people on television because people are sitting there getting them super chats. Max Velocity, he'll be on YouTube for 14 hours straight, 10 hours straight. He probably have $100,000 at the end of the week, if not more. But he goes the extra mile, and it's not hard sitting in front of a camera with lights that long. I remember when the storm was hitting here in Atlanta, bad storm hitting here in Atlanta. We hardly ever have storms that spins a lot of tornadoes. We don't really have a lot of tornadoes here, but it was some bad storms coming here, and he was like, the storms had hit Mississippi, then the tornadoes was hitting Alabama. He stayed online all day until those storms got out to the coast. And I'm telling you, everybody was sending him super chats. And as the day, I think I even sent him super chat at that show. I think as the storms were going in and out of cities, he was able to warn people before the tornado touched down in the city. Like I'm seeing something on the map here. And he was literally calling it before the Weather Channel was calling it. It was so crazy. It's like, how is the Weather Channel taking note that this kid is on here calling the tornadoes before they hit, before y'all call it? Like, it was crazy how he was able to do that. And I thought it was great. I think it's great work. I think they're doing great work. I think if the pseudo powers that be are controlling the weather, these boys on YouTube on y'all ass. I mean, big time. They on y'all ass. They on y'all. Cause one of them storms, they saw some kind of radar inside of the storm. They pointed that out. Like, what is this? You see these weird radar streaks inside of the storm? What is that? What is that? Like they be going in. And I'm like, okay, that's good. I like it. I like it. I like the independent work. You need independent people, and this probably is why YouTube is getting so bigger than just regular TV, because we're able, even those of us on the researcher side, we're researching stuff and calling stuff out that major media just aren't calling out. They just aren't for some reason. I don't know why, but they aren't. I can guesstimate why. I think they want some people to be destroyed. If it is true that the weather is somehow being manipulated, it won't be long for somebody to call it out. I will say this. I don't think it's all the way a conspiracy that weather manipulation is going on, because what I have noticed is, here we are, guys, here we are, July 5th, the year of our Lord 2025, and we have yet to see a tornado hit a bank. We haven't seen any debris signals from a tornado hitting a bank yet. We have not seen any money floating in the air yet. I'd love to see a tornado hit a bank and have just money just floating all in the air. Money bags all on the ground, money on the floor. Why haven't we seen that yet? I don't know. That's why I'm saying it may not be a conspiracy. It may be some control out there somewhere. I don't know. Maybe it's just me that haven't seen a tornado. Maybe some of y'all have seen a tornado hit a bank before. I haven't seen it. Tornadoes don't hit really important places. They don't. The tornado has not hit a lot of really. Has one ever hit the White House? Has a tornado ever hit the White House? Y'all let me know. Has a tornado ever hit The bank in your city or the White House, was there money floating in the air? Like what is I like to see the money float in the air, auntie. I need to see it. I want to see the money floating in the air. You know? I haven't seen it, guys. Okay, so let's move on. Unless y'all tell me some instances where a tornado has hit an important place like a bank, a Federal Reserve, a White House, then I'm gonna keep my little theory, and then really, every conspiracy that I've had turned out to be true. I don't really think too far outside the box. I try to think right in the middle of everything. I try to be right in the middle, not too far left, not too far right, right down the middle. I am the gray area of things. So if it's right or wrong, I'm the gray area. So my gray areas hadn't necessarily been wrong yet. I could be wrong on this one. Maybe somebody will send me some videos of money floating in the air. Just like everybody plywood and sheetrock be floating in the air. Maybe somebody will send that to me. I ain't seen too many banks get flooded out either. Let's just say that. So I don't know. I do know dams were made by the Army Corps of Engineers and 100-year flood plans were created. And someone should have asked, well, why did you guys dam all these lakes up, let them up and let them down? And in order to create flood plans, are you planning on flooding some areas in the near future? Are you planning on flooding every 20 years and then showing us pictures of the levees and say, see, the levees aren't broke. We got 1,000 levels of flood water to go before it starts to spill over. Are you sure? I'm just saying. I don't know, guys. I'm just saying. I just want everybody to be careful. Be careful. Machines is what they need to control the weather, but us, the originals, can control it mentally. We got we are tapped in. I'm telling you. I do believe that. Now, I will tell a storm to stop in a minute. I will tell the storm to stop in a minute, baby. I'm the one. I'm the one. I know plenty of people like that too. We've been able to control the weather. Shit, old black people in the South can feel weather in their bones before it come. We can smell a storm brewing. And it's so crazy because it was a huge argument online on TikTok about us saying we can smell the rain and smell the weather coming. And people across seas are like, y'all can't. So y'all just be saying anything. Y'all just be talking crazy. You can't smell no weather coming. You can't smell no weather before it come. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Not only can we smell the weather, some people can feel the weather. Now I can't feel it in my bones yet, but I know plenty old folks that can feel weather before it comes. I've always wondered that part. The people who can feel weather, you can fit. It's kind of like what this physicist just explained. That's what it is. And I probably can't feel it before it comes. I sure felt that headache the other day, but kind of like what this physicist just explained with the ionospheres and the atmosphere changing. A lot of old people can feel that. They can feel it in their joints. They can literally feel it in their body. So people are tapped in. You probably just won't acknowledge the fact that you tapped in. People won't acknowledge it that deep. But shoot, plenty of people can feel the weather. Plenty of people. I can most definitely feel the difference in the atmospheric pressure. Exactly. Plenty of people can. Plenty of people can. Some of us can just smell it. I can sure smell it. No, they don't smell rain across seas. They don't smell the weather. They don't have, I don't know, are we cats? Is our senses heightened over here? I kind of feel like our senses are heightened a bit over here. Or we're just more connected because we're just, when you're on your original land, when your DNA tied to the land, you probably can't feel stuff like that. You know, a lot of those people, because the argument was between the British people saying, it was the British people that was saying this about Black Americans. And then some white Americans chimed in and said, yeah, no, it's true. But the white Brits don't understand that some of the white people over here in America, you know, have integrated into our families, and the people that they're talking to on TikTok are the kids of some of that mating. So these kids of some of that mating can also smell the weather. They have this heightened, some of these features that we have, this heightened sense. You know, some of them can smell the weather too. So when the white people start saying, yeah, it's true, Black Americans can smell the weather, and we can smell it too. Some of us can smell it too. Then they kind of backed off, like, well, maybe it's true, because the white people vouch for the Black people over here that's saying they can smell the weather. It's weird that had to happen, but everything we say, they don't believe it. They can't smell it where they're from, but we can smell it over here now. Like I said, maybe we got heightened sense. I can smell grass. Yeah, I can smell grass too. Grass. I love how grass smells when it's freshly cut. Wood, all of that. I love how wood smells. Wood has a sweet smell to it. You know, y'all used to sharpen y'all pencils in school. Never mind. Anyway, let's keep going. That's crazy. I smell and feel it coming, but not lately. Dang. In the Caribbean, y'all doing the Caribbean? Yeah, exactly. But you got to think, you know, and we go back in history, it's a lot of people in the Caribbean that, you know, mainland Americans too. Y'all, a lot of y'all just are down there. But it's like a heightened sense thing that happened. See, I know I can smell it too. Yeah, I'm telling you. Hi, Miss Denise. Blessings. Thank you. Blessings to you too. We press play. Apparently a bunch of folks, I think it was trending during COVID lockdown, about the weather, about smelling the weather. Yeah, we can smell these things and feel these things. So, you know what? Sometimes I feel like, because somebody said I can sometimes. Maybe the sometimes when we can smell it, and the sometimes when we don't, is the difference between natural rain and or natural weather pattern and something that is, you know, manufactured, if you will. I don't know. You know, they are making clouds, so that it's not impossible. It's not an impossibility, because there are cloud seeding machines. Maybe when we can smell it, that's when it is actually real rain. Like one rain you are not going to control is the first May rain. I've been knowing this since I was a kid. Family used to collect the first May rain. You're not going to control. That's going to happen anyway. That's the first May rain going to happen anyway. Now, what comes after that could be weather seeding. The chemtrails, to me, is weather seeding, if you ask me. Because sometimes we don't even have clouds. And here in Atlanta, I'm telling you, sometimes the sky is just crystal blue. I mean, you think you're in paradise, how blue the sky is. Then you see those planes, and then after those planes come, then you'll see clouds form. So that could be, you know, then you see those clouds, and now you have a rainstorm. So it's not, like I said, it's not all the way a conspiracy. It's just a gray area that we don't have any proof. We know there are metals that they're spraying in these, you know, skies that form clouds. But what seeds the clouds? We haven't seen that part, or have we? That's why it's such a gray area, and it sounds like a conspiracy. You know, sometimes something we can smell is probably the natural weather patterns. The stuff that we can't smell or can't feel, yeah, y'all probably manipulating that a little teensy bit. A teensy bit. The rain has a dewy smell to it. It makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, some deceptive going on. You in Virginia, you can smell it too. See, it ain't just the South. Well, Virginia's still the South, but y'all don't want to be the South. Y'all want to be North so bad. It is what it is. I love Virginia. Y'all can smell it in Virginia too. See, that's interesting because a lot of times you only hear people from the South say that. But like I said, you're in America. You dealing with the same bloodline. That's just mind-boggling to me. Exactly. I told my brother that this rain smelled like real rain. He laughed at me, but it's true, yeah. The first May rain and the Easter snap. You can take those to the bank. Exactly, exactly, Auntie. You can take that to the bank. Yes, very true, especially when the airplanes carry no fuel. Oh, you say YouTube has videos of cloud seeding? Oh, they see. Listen, wait. Wait. Whoa, wait. Wait. Child, wait now. Well,
let's see some class. Look at this. So I flip this to L2, and then I bring this to 1, and fire. Now look at that. Fire. Let's see some class. Look at this. So I flip this to L2, and then I bring this to 1, and fire. Now look at that. Fire.
That's wild stuff. This is wild stuff, man. This some wild stuff. Super carbon. What in the f is going on? What in the I hope they ain't cloud seeding over Texas right now to try to get that oil laying out there. How much money did I just got a sneaky suspicion, guys. Are you men in the chat following what's going on with the US Steel? Any men in the chat? Any grown men in the chat? No? Was all girl show today? Any grown men in the chat following what's going on with the US Steel? Do you know the controversy behind US Steel? So look at the creation of US Steel. Look how it was created. A lot of independently owned companies, whether they were black or white, were swiped up, and one monopoly started controlling the steel industry. It was called US Steel when they took everybody steel business. It took everybody business. Anybody who had a business in steel that was making money, they found a way to take it, either by force, by an act that happened during the war, or a buyout. And it's of such controversy that some people who got the buyouts end up being unalived shortly thereafter. So did you really even get the money to the people who owned that company? And then we have U.S. Steel, which also ties into Kennedy's assassination, but they don't want to admit that it tied into Kennedy assassination. But I played the actual record of the assassination of the Kennedy record that I have, and they talked about U.S. Steel on the record. So U.S. Steel, yep, I got some men in the chat. I got some grown men in the chat. When you talk about industries in America and who's making the money and who is trying to draw your attention away from these said industries, because if your attention is drawn to these industries, then by default of that, your attention may be drawn back to your heirs property, which may contains some iron ore that they could be very well mining for their U.S. Steel. U.S. Steel is the largest in the world, on the planet. Are y'all seeing what's going on with U.S. Steel? Says, yes, Carnegie Associates. Neapolitan Hill outlined it in one of his books. Every grown man in America, every grown black, Negro, colored, whatever you want to call yourself, needs to put their eyes on what's going on with U.S. Steel and its Japanese merger. Now, U.S. Steel was going to be bought out. Were they already bought out? And they negotiated not changing the name from U.S. Steel to that Japanese company? The reason why you need to take heed of this is because no matter what nobody tell you, no matter what nobody tell you about history, no matter how much they beat into your head, you're just a slave, you're just a slave, you're just a slave, you're just a slave. Baby, that has not always been the case. That has not always been the case. You have ancestors that were doing a lot. You have ancestors that was controlling some of these companies that got pushed in up under U.S. Steel. You have heirs property that maybe or may be near some of this iron ore, near some of this copper, near some of these metals that are being formed. You have possibly royalties that should be getting paid out to your family. But let's just tell you that let's just act like this industry does not exist, right? Let's just act like this industry doesn't exist, period. That way you don't look back into it ever. Please click like and share the live, guys. Please click like and share the live. We need to have these conversations. They're important. If I don't do anything else, I'm gonna bring your attention to some industry. The two big money industries is oil and metal. Oil and metal. Petroleum and metal. That's what makes America the superpower that it is. Oil, for one, makes America a superpower on its own. But just say something happens and we have no more oil, which is an impossibility. But just say you still got metal. You the first one to mine metal. There wouldn't even be any aluminum if it wasn't for America. You were the first to mine aluminum. And see, this kind of empowerment is what is missing from the black male conversation. You could talk about women all day. You talk about women too much. You talk about family too much. You talk about everything other than these industries over here that are almost 100% white and foreign male control for whatever reason. They keep beating your head to a slave because they don't want you to look back into it. They don't want you to pull up these old records that literally still exist so that you can continue to talk online about things that are absolutely irrelevant. It don't matter which degree you have. It does not matter. Maybe look back into the history of America and how these companies took over. You can go really deep if you like. There are some files that are on Congress.gov. They're on NARA as well. There's this one file in particular that was talking about the Hudson Bay Company, the creation of the Hudson Bay Company. And what the Hudson Bay Company did is they came to America, and it was about 100 or more ports and areas all across the Midwest and the West Coast, Northwest Coast, North Quadrant. And they went into these areas, about 100 plus areas, and took these areas by force, pushed the people off the land, and took over the operation of fur, the whole fur operation. Took over. Hudson Bay Company. And there's records that still exist about this to this day. The reason why the record still exists is because the British Crown actually were the ones who did it. And so the Senate was having these hearings with people from Great Britain, military people from Great Britain, and questioning them about things that happened surrounding the Hudson Bay, the Hudson Bay Corporation. So they had to keep these things on the record. One thing I could say about America, we do not have to be confused about what happened in America. We just got to read. We just have to read. You know, sometimes people don't have time to read. That's why you got me. Yeah, I read for you. If you don't have time to read or pull something up, you know, if you don't have time to see, well, I heard a rumor that, you know, my family may have used to be in the fur industry. No, boy, they took it. They took it and then made laws around just that alone. They literally took it. And that wasn't the only industry that's on the record that they took. Plenty industries are on the record that they took. And then when they took these industries and they're in Reconstruction, they literally reconstructed the stories. See, the fur industry is an old industry. Old industry. That's what I said. We can go real way back. During Reconstruction, they said, oh, these were just, you know, areas that was deserted, or these were areas that were, oh, America was full of savages. I can even explain that. Heathen savages. I can even explain that. I could do it. That'd be a whole live. I have to explain why they were saying that. But that's what they reconstructed. Oh, it was just, you know, it was a few slaves over here we dropped off from Africa, and it was nothing to America until we made it what it is today. Our founding fathers, when they came over here, they made America what it is today. But now when you look at the real story, when you learn the story by reading the files. When you read the files, it's like, well, this doesn't make sense. If there's nobody over here, then how did y'all have a fur industry where there was 100 plus locations that y'all went and literally took over, pushed the people off the land, and then even more detrimental, even more diabolical, you went and followed the people that you pushed off the land and started studying them. So they had teams of people doing certain things like experimenting on people. I'm talking about late 1700s, early 1800s, experimenting on people. Wild stuff in the legislature. And I'm sitting here reading it. So I'm not shocked at a lot of the stuff that goes on today. I was reading annuity records one day, last week. I found another payload of annuity records, old annuity records. Guys, click like in here. Please share the live. I found a payload of annuity records, and I was reading through the records, and I saw all these chiefs' names. I like the annuity records because you sometimes get both names. Like you have a chief with a real long name, Neamathala Umatuchi or something like that, but his other name would be something like John Davis or William Jones. But he has this long chief name too, right? So when you're reading the annuity records, you get to see both names. I'm giving y'all an insight of how I research people, how I be researching y'all families and stuff. You get two names, right? But it's more stuff on the annuity records. So if a chief or a captain, because you had chiefs, captains, and kings, chiefs, and captains, right? Running areas, provinces, states, whatever. If a captain or something needed to order something, then they'll have it like itemized. So just say yellow fever broke out. They literally had vaccines. You would have to order it and the government will supply it. So they had vaccines in the early 1800s, just like they got them now. Probably told them like, this is what will cure the blankets that we gave y'all that's now killing. This is how you cure that is vaccine. And on the annuity records, it'll say vaccine, and it'll have a dollar amount. It's wild, the stuff that they die. Like you took over a land and documented the takeover. But to be fair, there aren't hella people researching and looking at these old documents. And it's almost impossible to destroy them because a lot of people have already archived some of these documents in books. So whereas, you may have had these documents at 3 courthouses. Once you started taking this stuff from microfilm, digitizing it, once you start digitizing this stuff, it's a wrap. Once it's on the internet forever. Once one person find it, it's on the internet forever. It's forever. So, we have access to these things. They took it all: the fur, the land, the crops, the women, the children. Yes, William, they did. It really did. They did the number. They took it all and then they documented it. Like just like I want to talk about the birthright citizenship. A little big beautiful bill has sparked a whole nother slew of conversations about birthright citizenship. Now I do have a video on birthright citizenship where I unpacked it to the letter. That didn't go viral like some of the others who unpacked birthright citizenship because of how they explained it versus how I explained it. How I explained it gives you a much fuller picture of history. And I think more historians who are willing to be unbiased about our part of history should either look at my video, Birthright Citizenship, or explain it. Like, because if you are unbiased about our history, then you'll be able to explain it like I explain it. Even when you go back to Dred Scott, some people are pulling up the Dred Scott decision. Well, when you look at Dred Scott, his situation where he was free in one area and a slave in another area and did not have land, that's exactly how I explain it. And when you look at it from that standpoint, what made him a slave? What made him a slave in one area and free in one area? This has everything to do with how tribes were taken over, how whole provinces was taken over. It also ties into how the fur industry was taken over. What if we're just saying hypothetically, Dred Scott's dad was one of the people who were in this area that was a part of the fur industry before Hudson Bay. Before Hudson Bay came and took over the area. When Hudson Bay came and took over the area, when that company came and sent their literally military troops in to take over that area, you push them people off of that land that they are indigenous to. You push them off. These people have been there for forever. You push them off that land, right? So now that you've pushed these people off, they didn't have a treaty at the time. They don't have nothing, no paperwork, nothing. They're a slave. They're just out here. They're just out here. They're just out here. Pushed off the land. If you owned no land during that era, you were a slave. The definition is clear during that particular era. If you own land, you was not a slave. If you didn't own land, you was a slave until further notice. Now, to be fair, when those treaties and people say whatever they want to say about treaties. When these people came and took the land, please click like in here, guys. Share the live. Click like and share the live. We've been stuck at the same numbers since I've been on here. I've been on here an hour. Please share the live. Click like. Share it on TikTok. I ain't share it on Twitter. Can't share it on TikTok. Share the link on Twitter. Share the link on Facebook, on your YouTube pages, whatever. Because we need to have these conversations, because there's a lot of people that are afraid because it's birthright citizenship. Look at the whole full picture of history. You can't just look at that one date and say, okay, they were freed slaves. In the legislation, it said these people didn't come from anywhere else. Also, during that era, there were foreigners in America as well. That's the part of the conversation that's being left out. During this same era, there were foreigners here. What happened to the foreigners? They had to go back home. In the legislation, what happened to the people who were so-called Negroes here? Slaves? They got written into the Constitution because you had no other way you had nothing else to do with them. You couldn't send them anywhere because they were not from anywhere else. Now, the thing that I think the other thing that people are leaving out is when you look at Natchez, Mississippi, right? I think Natchez, Mississippi is probably the city that's on the forefront of the Civil War, not only because of the Devil's Punch Bowl. Outside of Savannah, you're looking at Natchez, Mississippi when you're looking at the Civil War, not only because of the Devil's Punch Bowl, because of how many Black Americans overnight became free, right? The thing about that is, whether you made them free or not, these people were already protected under a treaty. So they already had land. They had land distributed. The war turned them into slaves via them being prisoners of war. So you have to put that into the proper context. If I send a troop down into Natchez, if I send the military down into Natchez, then you're going to get down or lay down. And then you're going to be in this concentration camp where I put you, and now you're a slave. Prior to the military coming, these people were not slaves. They were landowners. Because when a treaty was made, not only did the chief get to write himself and his family patents, everybody that was a part of the tribe got patents. So when you think of Black Americans, you just rule out the land situation. They don't even talk about the land situation at all. During this era, you had Negroes with patents already. Literally with patents already. Large landholding Negroes. Now, they were turned into slaves during that war for that period of time. Prisoners of war slaves. I think a lot of people are missing that because they're not going far enough back in history. It's just the same with the Dred Scott decision. You was just pushed in the area. You didn't own no land. You was pushed in the area. You was a slave. it is what it is. You was a slave. That's why they had to give him citizenship eventually when the amendment was written, because they could not tie him to Africa or nowhere else. If you was a foreigner, when that amendment was written, it clearly was not for you. So them saying, oh, it's going to be Black Americans are next, we're going to get kicked out. There's nowhere to kick us out. There's nowhere to kick us to. Nowhere. Just like when the senators wrote it, they said it in their writings during the Senate hearing. It's a group of people. It's just nowhere. There's just nowhere. They don't have their tribes anymore. It's literally in the writing. They don't have their tribes anymore. They don't have nations anymore. And another thing about the whole Indian tribal thing that I'm sitting here explaining, that I explained well when I did the video just on birthright citizenship. The tribal thing is very real. You didn't have whatever your family called their tribe, whatever you called yourself, whatever, that was over with after the Civil War. You didn't have nowhere to go. I mean, you didn't have no other nation that you gave your loyalty to, if that makes sense. Even they said, okay, well, the Indians got the right to vote after the turn of the century, 1924, Indian Voting Rights Act. You even got, I don't know, would I have to be the one to do it? But someone needs to go pull up the what the legislators were saying even during that. Because I think that could have possibly been some leftover Negroes who were still clinging on to their tribes who hadn't been kicked out or whatever. Or it was somebody. I don't think it was the Native Americans that we see today. I don't think that was for them. Because even when you look in the legislature today, even when you go on, let me see, even when you go on congress.gov today, they was fighting for the right to vote in 2019, the Native Americans. But so that means the 1924 Indian Citizenship Act, which would have included you having the right to vote, that means you was not a part of that. That means you were not a part of that. Let me show y'all. Here is, this is in the Senate Judiciary, 3/12/2019. Native Americans literally fighting for the right to vote. And this entire bill, let's see who, and then when you see who wrote the bill, look at who wrote the bill, guys. Mr. Udell, Cory Booker, Miss Cortez Masto, which her name is Sally Cortez. I don't even think her last name Cortez, but I know her first name is Sally because they just did a deep dive on her, how fake she is. Miss Feinstein, Miss Harris, Mr. Henry, Miss Henroni, Miss Klobuchar. That sounds very foreign. Mr. Merkley, Mr. Sanders, Miss Sanchez, Miss Schumer, Chuck Schumer, Mr. Schumer, Miss Smith, Miss Tester, and Miss Warren, Elizabeth Warren. They was trying to get these people the right to vote. In this legislature, because I've already read it, these people didn't have the right to vote, guys. They didn't have IDs. They don't have birth certificates, and they do not have addresses. And for that reason, they was writing this bill to try to get it passed so that they can use one building as an address for all the Native Americans in order so that they could vote. Now, if you would have let your tribe go like the Negroes had to let their tribes go in the 1800s, you would have the right to vote. So we had to let our tribes go, but you get to keep yours and vote. That's not how it works. Put two and two together. You will not be under another nation on this soil and vote in America. You just will not. So guys, that's what this is about. And then they cited the 15th Amendment. They tried to cite the Indian Citizenship Act in order to make their point. If the Indian Citizenship Act was talking about you, you would not have to write another legislation in order to vote, because you would already have the Indian Citizenship Act. You would already have it. You would already have it. You won't have to have all these field hearings and all these surveys and feel discriminated against because you cannot vote in America. No, you don't have the right to vote, because you're not the Indians that they're talking about in this Indian Citizenship Act of 1924. You're clearly not, if you're still fighting for this in 2019. Now, what they're saying in this act is basically the Native Americans, they have health cards, little health cards, and they should be able to use those health cards in order to verify ID, to verify as their ID. And then they should be able to put one building on the reservation. They wanted the government to put a building on the reservation so that they can use that building, so that everybody, all the Native Americans, can use that building, right, in order to vote. That building would act as their address, guys. And then look at what they're using in order to justify that they're the Indians, right? Indian, the term Indian has the meaning given in the term Section 4 of the Indian Self-Determination and Education Act. Baby, stop. So they're saying that they have the right to self-determine as Indians in order so that they can vote in 2019, guys. So again, I go back to, who was the Indian Citizenship Act of 1924 about? How does that tie in to birthright citizenship? Did we have Negroes still in tribes in 1924 who were large landowners who still didn't have the right to vote? And then they were given the right to vote. That's all I'm saying. Once you figure out who's who over here, you cannot unfigure it out. Them people don't even have addresses. I don't want to hear a Lakota telling me nothing about me being from somewhere else. Well, my people have always had the right to vote. My people have land. Y'all people don't even have land. If you had land somewhere, you would already have an address. If you had an ID or birth certificate, you would already have an address. But all this cosplaying that has been going on now is coming to a screeching halt because of this whole Birthright Citizenship Act. And no matter how people try to fearmonger and say, oh, the birthright citizenship, it's going to get rid of Americans. You can predate the birthright citizenship back 100 years and you won't get rid of us. Now, you would get rid of a lot of people. A lot of people that have used birthright citizenship, you go back 100 years, you still won't get rid of us. You can go back more than 100 years and still won't get rid of us. And if you decide to take it off the table altogether, you still won't get rid of us. Because what you going to do? Cancel the land patents and fuck up your money? You're not going to do that. What you also need to do is see how many Native Americans have been getting royalties off of the land, which has been given to the wrong family for decades. Given to the wrong families. You guys know the people on the reservations were never supposed to get royalty payments and annuity payments. Why would they ever have royalty and annuity payments? Is if their land aren't on, if their families aren't on any titles? Why are they giving? them payments. They don't have a license. They don't have birth certificate. They don't have nothing, but somehow they're getting payments by default of them being on a reservation. Now, when Black Americans start talking about all of this, Negro Americans, coloreds, when we start talking about all this, the big picture that we discuss here on this channel, now it's not everybody scrambling and running and scraping and trying to be niggas all of a sudden. Everybody want to be Black Americans all of a sudden. Because y'all have heard some of these. Be ye not deceived. The numbers never match on this channel. I could tell the numbers never match because of how my talking points go out. Why are people afraid? Why is there a concerted effort to try to make Black Americans afraid? You can take the whole amendment off the books, baby. You can take the whole amendment off the book if you want to, and we still won't be deported. You ain't read the notes of what the senator said. You didn't take into consideration that there were foreigners over here at the time. The foreigners who were over here it was whole brigades of foreigners fighting for the Union. It was a whole German brigade of soldiers fighting for the Union. It was a Russian brigade of soldiers on the water fighting for the Union in their little boats. What happened to them after the Civil War? And if they brought in any of their family members over here, what happened to them after the Civil War? You went back to your post across the water. Period. Now, you had Negroes, coloreds, emancipated slaves, as you say, who already had land. Just like the elder that was in South Carolina, that they was trying to take her land, and then they was forced to point out the fact that that family land had been there prior to the Civil War, that she was not an anomaly. Many stories like that, hundreds of thousands of stories like that in the Negro community. We're not anomalies as it relates to land. Many families had land prior to the Civil War. Like I said, if you take that amendment off the books, we'll still be over here because we're landowners. Imagine deporting landowners. Imagine trying to deport somebody and I can show you 200 years of paperwork. Please. 250 years of paper. I was doing somebody land search. The person one of the people who I emailed yesterday, I dated her family back to the mid 1700s on accident. I wasn't even doing her genealogy. I was just doing the land just kept going and going and going and going and fucking going. Please. So we'll have an argument. If they say Trump trying to be underhanded, he gonna try to double cross the Black people. You don't gotta double cross us, baby. We're tied into the treaties. These patents are look. If you're gonna double cross us, then you will have to say, "Hey guys, there's no more America. There's no more United States of America." You're not gonna say that. It's too much money tied into it. They're not gonna say that. Even if they move the capital to Timbuktu, they're not gonna say that. Nobody's ever gonna say that. Baby, it's too much money tied into it. Too much money tied into it. Too much. So everything is being exposed to find out we're the legit ones. Our ancestors left us good. Yeah, they did. These people were smart, and I'm gonna tell you my theory. Okay, this is a theory, guys. This is a theory that's almost fleshed out. I was looking at some of the land patents and for families, right? And I started looking at some of the treaties. I don't know who family. I think I emailed who was that? Veteran Jacobs? Is somebody on here? I think it was Veteran Jacobs. I updated some people's files that I had already sent sent your reports to, but I ended up finding some more stuff and updating people's stuff because I found more stuff. I found more file sets that just, they just keep going and going, guys. It just keep going. But anyway, I was looking at something in the file sets. This is like, okay, this chief wrote this treaty when they were taking over, pushing people off land, Trail of Tears era, right? We're in the 1830s, right? When they were taking over, area by area, these weren't states at the time. Everything was not a state. Some areas were still provinces and its own country, literally. Like some areas was literally its own country. Oh, it was just a province, right? So when they were taking over, they went in and tried to negotiate with the chiefs and the kings, because there were kings. No matter what people like to joke, there is legislation confirming that there were kings. And there were kings, and they were brokering deals with them to take land, right? I give you this plot of land, and then you give me X, Y, Z. I'll show y'all this. Let me see. Let me download this real quick. This is Indian laws. Let me see what page. This 1705. What page is this? Hold my mule. 30. Let me see something. 36. I just got to prove a point real quick, guys, before I go off into this theory that I have. 36. When they was making these treaties, they were putting a lot of different stuff in these freaking treaties. A lot of stuff, guys. Let me move this so I can show y'all. Can y'all read my screen? That it shall not be lawful for an Indian king I wish, let me tell y'all something. We do not have to look very far. We do not have to look very far. I put in 2019, Who Stole the Cookies, that it was a House of Kings. You don't have to look very far. And then a lot of people just be joking, saying with the We Was Kings stuff, you don't know about history. You just don't know about history. If you want to deny that there were kings, chiefs, and captains over here, you would not understand how hard it was to take over America unless you understand that fact. You tried to take over America in the 1500s and could not. You tried to take over America in the 1600s and could not. Then you all got together, created a holy alliance with all these different nations across the water, and then y'all came back over here in the 1700s with a very clever plan. You hit us 3 different ways, and you was able to get in that way, right? But even then, you didn't have a bunch of just dummies running around aimlessly. You had people who were very smart. So in lies my theory. Okay. In lies one of my many theories, in fact. So I was looking at some records of land patents. And of course, by default, there are these coordinates on the patents, right? And some patents are very different. It's like it's in a totally different place from what's on the patent. So you kind of really have to read everything on it. And I was like, you know what? What if when they came down to this particular territory and said, okay, now we're taking this, by force. Your king has already, made a treaty and you got to leave, right? And the chief said, no, make my own treaty, right? So you got to make a treaty with me too. So in these treaties, the chiefs got to write patents for their family, as well as literally everybody that was a part of that tribe, right? All the heads of the families got land. And then the heads of the families, of course, gave land to their children or whatever. Your son might need 100 acres. So you'll have the person on the patent, then the heirs of that person, you have them writing out their own patents to their, heirs, whatever. So I think when the government came down, let's say we're in Georgia, right? We're in Alabama. This is a perfect example. We're in Upper Alabama in the Coosa Territory. They come down to the Coosa Territory and say, y'all got to go. We already got y'all land over in Arkansas. You can send your surveyor over to Arkansas to see how well you like the land. But either way, you got to go. We've already chartered your boat, because literally they were chartering boats, right? For these real powerful tribes. They would, not for every tribe, but the real powerful tribes, they would already have them a boat. And anybody who can fit on the boat, you got to walk a horse. You can rent out a horse, literally. It's wild shit. So he was like, okay, well, you got to make me treaty first, because this is my land you trying to take. All right, well, we'll write you patents for the land. You just got to make it over there first. I feel like these chiefs outsmarted them, because it seems like by them writing the coordinates, because you got to think the incoming people, the incoming foreigners who did this takeover, the British, low key, because they was all together, but it was headed by the crown. The crown, they didn't know the coordinates. They didn't even know latitude, longitude. So they didn't know the coordinates. I feel like they wrote down, when they patented it, they thought that they was patenting Arkansas, but they were patenting Alabama, because they was writing the Alabama coordinates down. So you have to double check the land files by the coordinates. And I feel like by the time they recognized what was going on, everybody that they had pushed out on the Trail of Tears, the chiefs had already patented the land that they got pushed off on, versus patenting the land that they got pushed to, if that makes sense. So now when you go on, I don't know how long it took for them to figure it out. But I think BLM, I think the reason why they have that feature where you could push the button and zoom in on the land, I think they put that feature there after they figured out, damn, this coordinate does not match the treaty area. That these people got outsmarted I think these people got, that's my theory now. This is my theory. It's my theory. Cause these boys knew. They knew the land. When I say they knew the land, they knew the land. They knew the land. So I think that's where the coordinates came in at. And also a lot of these areas were not states at the time. They had to push the people off the land in order to create states. So you can't tell me you're sending me to Arkansas when at the time of this treaty there was no Arkansas. All you have is the coordinates. Now you sent me to Arkansas, but the coordinates on this patent is Alabama, and you never intended for this part of Alabama to be patented because you was mining up here. That's why you came and took it in the first place, so that you can mine. This in Georgia, you took this gold land and you was gonna give me land in Oklahoma, because you didn't think it was nothing in Oklahoma. So you took but what you didn't know is these people put the coordinates on this stuff. So now you have to enter it into your system by coordinate. It's my theory, guys, but I'm telling you, I think I'm right. I think they outsmarted these people, because when you think about it, if the Trail of Tears only made Indian Territory one state, one state, one area, there's no freaking way we have all these land patents. You just wouldn't have them. Because even when they did the military warrants, to certain areas too. Now they probably had figured it out by then that, hey, we're making this by coordinates, but you put it on the responsibility of the chiefs and the people in that tribe to survey the land, to hire their own surveyors to survey the land. Because you didn't know how to survey the land. You didn't have surveyors. So I think they was working together. I think they got outsmarted, to be honest. Because it's Indian patents all over this place. It's Indian fee patents all over this place. They're not just in Oklahoma. They're everywhere. Even the military warrant patents that go back into the 1700s are everywhere. These patents are in all kinds of Indian territory. The Chickasaw Indian Territory, the Chickamauga Indian Territory that was in North Carolina, full of patents. Full of patents. You can take birthright citizenship off the table. I can put it right back on the table with patents alone. It was no white Chickamaugas. That's an impossibility. In fact, you wasn't getting too far below the Mason-Dixon line if you were white, unless you knew somebody who knew somebody, or you was getting off by skin color alone. You were getting off based on skin color. That's why they was taking over the North for shit all through the 1700s. Couldn't penetrate the South to save their life. Because the people down here was killing based off skin tone. And that's in their record. They don't just talk about that with the Tomachichis of the world or with the Imathalas of the world. They don't just talk about it. You had to mate in to be a McIntosh. McIntosh was a half-breed. They had to get them half-breeds to take areas in the South, to broker treaties in the South. That's the only way you got in. That's the only way. That is the only way. So, ain't no need to be scared. There is just no way anybody is afraid that Black Americans will be taken out the land. Child, please. Please. There was a group of Indians I wanted to talk about because I ain't been too long discovered. What is that movie? Hold on. Hold my mule, guys, because I got to tell y'all about this. There is. Hold on. It's this file. it is this file that I was reading. From what source was that? Hang on. I gotta find what source it was. It's govinfo.gov. The source was from govinfo.gov. It is one of the Congresses, 68th Congress or something. One of the Congresses. I don't know. But it was govinfo.gov where the source was I was reading. I was reading about this tribe that I had never heard of. And they were called the Black River Bay Indians. When I say the files on this tribe, not the new tribe, because some people know about this tribe. I didn't know about this tribe. This tribe was in Florida, right? They had their own fleet of boats, and they protected the coastline, but you didn't know they were there. And I'm reading the files aren't just on govinfo.gov. They're everywhere. The files on NARA too, but the source that I was reading, it was on govinfo.gov. This Black River Bay Indians. And so they will hide inside of the bays in Florida where you won't know they're there. And these Spaniards and all these people would try to get in to the coastline of Florida, through the coastline of Florida, and these boys would just come out and massacre everybody. And you didn't know they was there until it was too late. You didn't know they was there. You didn't know they had boats. You didn't know nothing. And when you think about stuff like that, you understand why it took so long to take over America. And they said that it is a series made about these Black River Bay Indians. The series is a popular series. It's a popular series made about these Black River Bay Indians. What is it called? What is it called? Let me see. Black River Bay. If somebody know what I'm talking about, you can put it in the chat. It's a show. It's a series. I never watched it, but it was a real popular series. Hold on. What is the show, guys? I can see the show in my head, but I just cannot think of the show. It was a popular show on TV. It was about warriors. They was fighting. Black River Indians in film. I can't think of it, but if I think, and watch for the hook, because and these was dark skinned people. So anytime you got a dark skin, full dark skinned tribe of people, the people who know about it try to clean it up and say they was from Africa. They was not from Africa. They was from Florida. They were Florida boys. These boys was from Florida. These black men, darkies, was from Florida, because they can't deny the fact that these people was very dark. But because they were such great warriors, they like to deny the fact that they was very dark Americans. They like to deny the fact that these boys did not come from come from Africa to protect Florida. They're from Florida. The Black River Indians. Damn, they done been depicted in a lot of stuff. This is a Black Robe, but that ain't what I'm talking about. Not the Black Robe. It was a very popular series. Not Spirit Bay. Guys, they had what is the name of this freaking series. This series is on. Hold on. Hold my mute, guys. I just Game of Thrones. Thank you. I found it. Game of Thrones. The Game of Thrones. The Game of Thrones depicted, and I never even watched the Game of Thrones, but I'm gonna go and watch it now. The Game of Thrones. I never watched the Game of Thrones, but I always saw that people were watching it. But apparently, the Game of Thrones depicted this group of black Indians that was on the water in the bays down there in Florida. The Game of Thrones. They Blackwater Bay Indians. That's because I had it in here wrong. Blackwater Bay Indians. Not Black River. Blackwater Bay Indians. They would hide in the bays. And they said the battle of Blackwater Bay is something that's on the Game of Thrones. That's real. That's real. That's very real. There were Blackwater Bay Indians, and they could not defeat these boys. They were so bad that when America, because we call them Americans now, but British wasn't. These people were the same, but they playing like they were two different sets of people. So the British was on the coast of Georgia, and they were trying to, they had already made chummy with some of the Indian tribes, so they'll let these boys roam, and they were supposedly merchants or whatever. But the people from the America at the time were trying to take over from the top of Georgia, right? They were trying to take over the top area of Georgia. So some of the people from the tribes in the top of Georgia, when they tried to start taking them over, was sent down into Florida for protection. Some of them were sent down into South Georgia, and then some of them was sent, because you had a House of Kings, literally, I kid you not. Black Bay Indians were supposed to protect somebody, but when maybe there was a failure to communicate, because this is what I was reading in the file. There had to be some type of failure to communicate, and the Black Indians, the Blackwater Bay Indians, killed somebody from the Muskogee tribe on accident. That's just how fast they was killing people. So when these Indians that was coming down for protection was approaching the territory of the Blackwater Bay Indians, one of them got murked, and then they, because they didn't go to war with each other, but he just walked up on him too fast. He was a little light skinned. He was a little bit light skinned. Walked on him too fast. We was every shade of brown over here. Dark deep brown and pecan tan and red bone. They probably shouldn't have put the red bone in the front of the line. That red bone got off because look, you walked up on us too fast. We didn't know who. We know we got the message that somebody's supposed to be protected, but we sorry. We sorry, but yeah, they got to bury you now. But when the fact that I am this year's old to now discover these Blackwater Bay Indians, I am so enamored. Now that prompted me to look at the other Indians that were within these bays and these sounds. It's so many tribes, it'll spin your head. It's mind-boggling the amount of tribes that are just wiped off the face of the map. There was no Blackwater Bay Indians after the Civil War. You got to give it up. She got to get down and lay down. The whole world up on you now. The Russian military, the Russians got the Russians on the water, the British on the water, we on the water. They was contracting, America was contracting black tribes in the South in order to fight during the Civil War. That's just how tough these guys were. But when you contract these, you had an ulterior motive. You supposed to contract these guys, pay them their money, let them go on about their day. Now you contracted these guys, and then you start running plays on them. A lot of them got offed. A lot of them had the fleet of boats taken. You don't even hear the story about the amount of boats that these men had during that. You don't hear these stories. I think they particularly omit these stories because if you talk about the Blackwater Bay Indians, then how are they on the water without boats? How are they controlling that part of the ocean without boats? Then you have to talk about the fleet of boats they had. Then you will have to talk about, well, who's building the boats? Did they have their own port? You have to have too many conversations. So let's just tell them about the 5 civilized tribes and none of the other tribes. Man, there were so many tribes. You were in a lot of different nations, I just want to tell y'all that because now I'm going to go back and watch the Game of Thrones, which is something that I never, I've heard about it, but like I said, I never watched. But now that I know that they're depicting an actual tribe that was here, I'm going to go back and watch it. And that, you know what? It's so crazy. That's not the only tribe that they have been depicting in films, just like right in front of our face. Like just right in front of our face. Like they don't even know their history. They don't even know where they're from. Well, you're able to say stuff like that if I don't pick up the fact that you're doing the Blackwater Bay Indians right in front of me. Then you are able to say they don't know. Yeah, they don't know this. They don't know that. They don't know their history. Maybe I don't. I thought I knew a lot about history. It's a whole lot of tribes that were right there tucked in these sounds, all up and down the coast, and tucked in these bays all around America that was just waiting on something to pop off. You're not going in this waterway today, sir. You're not going in here today. Click like, support the channel if you like this type of content. I know it's Saturday, but people like to talk on Saturdays, right? Support the content if you like these types of conversations. Hey, Hammer. Good day to you. I saw the funniest video where it was saying the Powhatan was putting on a battle show, 1609 example for British fighting in a straight line. Them Indians was ambushers, but put on a nice show. Yeah, these people was hiding out to ambush you, and we don't have talk about a Marine. This place, I can definitely see how the Marines were formed. I wouldn't be surprised if the Marines wasn't formed using all indigenous tribes. All you had to do was put these things already tough. And see, America's waterways are vast. So they were using what we just think is a little river now. It was a huge mode of transportation. So you had a continent where there are a lot of boat builders. There are a lot of boat captains that are indigenous, dark skinned, brown, because they wasn't really saying dark skin. They were saying brown. They would separate people brown and white, brown people, white people. And brown did not mean what it meant today. When y'all talk about Latino, they don't know Latinos. Latinos has never been brown. I don't even know why y'all say that, black and brown. Black is brown. What color am I today? I'm brown. I'm brown. My shirt is black. I don't even know why they say black and brown. You just talk about me and me. Like, what? Anyway, when they talk about brown people in some of this legislation that the government has, or some of these files that the government have, they're talking about darkies. They wasn't, mulatto was a thing, brown, mulatto, and white. And mulatto during that era was not what it was during this era. Mulatto during that era was Indian and white. Indian mixed with white. That was a mulatto. Today, mulatto is black mixed with white. So then what the fuck is black? If back in the day, mulatto was literally an Indian mixed with white. I'm talking about back in the early 1800s when they first came up with this shit. It was mulatto. I got files to prove it. Mulatto was when a Indian made it with a white person, and they had that light skin tone that mulattoes have today. That's what it was. Now it's like I said, just white mixed with black. You mulatto. Y'all, you say you love this type of information. Good. I might come on here later. No, it's something else I want to show y'all. No, it wasn't Indian. You know, Negro was Indian. Mulatto was different. Mulatto was Indian and white. It was Indian and white. Today is Negro and white. Back in that day, it was Indian and white. It was not a whole lot of people throwing around the Negro term. We throw it around today, but in the era I'm talking about, it wasn't a whole lot of people throwing around the Negro term. It was more so the British calling people Negroes and the Spanish calling people Negroes. The other side people was just Indians. It was just Indians or slaves. And either one of those could be a slave. That's how you also know these were the same people. These were the exact same people. These were the exact same people. Yeah, the Drakes of the world. Exactly. The big lottos. She called her name is literally mulatto. Her dad is black. Her mom is white. She is a mulatto. That's mulatto. But, you know, on the census record, when you're talking about blood quantum, you're talking about Indian blood first. That's black. Darky brown. Then everything gets mixed with. That's the Indian blood quantum. And then you had your mulattoes and your octoroons and all that. That was how your shade was fading. How your shade of brown, black, colored, whatever was fading. That's what I want to show y'all. People are crashing out, guys. People are really crashing out online about this birthright citizenship thing. And they are grasping for straws. I want to show y'all this.
If you're learning to sing and you're trying to learn how to Keisha, or you're trying to get your voice fluent like
what?
Fluent like
what?
Fluent like you know, my best advice is to come out to a place like here that has good acoustics and you can sing with the wildlife, you know.
The last video I called and I said, you know, y'all didn't have no culture now. Y'all don't know how to scat. I would like to see somebody scat. I turns on TikTok and then I see that. I was just floored. I was so floored with that boy trying to sing. Lord have mercy. Like, but let's I want y'all to see something else. What's the other thing I want y'all to see?
To think that Native Americans don't season their food is crazy. It's because like we had a hand in making soul food in both Mexico and America. We collard greens, all that stuff. That's part of our cuisine. You know, soul food. Like Native Americans and African American slaves, we came together with our cuisines back then.
What? Yo. The internet is crashing out. Yo, the internet is crashing out. Now the Native Americans made soul food. I was this years old. I'm telling you. I was this years old, guys. Maybe they say they made the soul food. They don't know what y'all talking about.
To think that Native Americans don't season their food is crazy. It's because like we had a hand in making soul food in both Mexico and America. We collard greens, all that stuff. That's part of our cuisine. Soul food, like Native Americans and African American slaves. We came together with our cuisines back then.
Y'all remember when they told us? Y'all remember when they tried to tell us that soul food was the scraps that the slave owners gave the niggas. Y'all remember that? That was just a few years ago. Y'all been repeating that for a long time. And then when you realize everything you eat on a day-to-day basis come from a nigga somewhere. Now y'all made soul food with the African slaves. Sir, they don't eat like this in Africa. So what do they season food in Africa? Sir, how you don't even know how to cook over there? Everything they cook baby food over there. Everything is mushed up into mush and turned into baby food. Sir, we don't eat baby food over here, baby. They eat baby food. Look, everything they got over there is turned into mushy. It's mushy, all mushy food. Why you got to puree everything? We don't do that. We may puree some things, but everything is not going to have a mashed potato texture. There would be no smoked foods if it wasn't for us. But now all of a sudden, we and the Native Americans, guys, I just want to tell y'all, Negroes and the Native Americans was the ones who created soul food. It is I, the inventor of soul food. That show I did earlier this week, I'm telling you, I asked for somebody to scat, and I asked y'all, what was y'all food? What was y'all food? I don't know whether he was responding from that or what. But I sure found both of the responses on his. Somebody tagged me in one of them. My cousin tagged me in the one about the soul food. He said, yeah. Yeah, they said they made it now, y'all. Everybody grasping for straws. Everybody is grasping for straws, guys. I'm here to tell you, watch for the hook. Because whereas at one point in history, it was not cool to be a Negro. But baby, now, everybody want to be. I want to show y'all this too. I want to show y'all the elder too. And then we hold on, show y'all the elder.
You have to do the corn before you take it to the mill.
Well, you first have to shuck it. Next, you have to shell it like that. And then, in other words, when you're done shell it, then you put in they have a sift at the mill. If you want to sift it, you put it in there, and the electric sifter will clean it for you. And then you put it in the hopper in the ground to get meal, all grits. And they got one mill there, which is a grits mill. It gives you coarse grits, fine grits, the bran, and some meal. They go 4 ways, depending on how you feel about it. So this is the way we have the corn. We should have a sheller, but we can use our hand or either a washboard. And it's not hard to shell if it's real dry. That's the way we do it. Come on out here, let me show you where this corn comes from. Would you care to see?
Sure.
Take it off the cob. You can shell it like that, make meal. Take this down, and this is the meal part of it. It's very good to have. Grits or meal, come from the mill, water ground mill. I've known it, been there for, I was 8 years old. I'm 61 now. Still eating cornbread and grits. It's very good to have. You care for.
Thank you. I have y'all to know that on the census, all of the census that ties into the militia districts, all of the census records that ties into the U.S. Census and the USDA records list that as Indian corn. That's the name. It's not just called Indian corn. It's called Indian corn. And you should know also that the cultivators of that Indian corn, the generation of Negroes and coloreds and darkies that turned that corn into meal and grits, their descendants are still alive today. Like we that bloodline is still alive. That bloodline was not destroyed. The bloodline of people who descended from these people are not destroyed. We're still alive today. So our DNA does not allow you to tell us that we're from another place. Our DNA don't allow us to hear you tell us you were the cultivators of these things. You just weren't. You just weren't eating grits. You told us that grits was the scraps that they gave the slaves. That means corn was also the scraps. And if that is true, then why did people have fields, 100 acres just for corn? Me and one of my clients found 100 acres of his ancestors' land that was just corn. That didn't even count the other land. 100 acres of just corn. Mind blowing. These records still exist. I found the exact location of the field. Who was that? I don't know. I'm not put your business out like that. But I found the actual location. And you know, the elders who was explaining this stuff, when we got these old videos, they didn't get enough respect. Because grits ain't going nowhere no time soon. Neither is corn, neither is meal. They did not get enough respect. The group of Negroes, coloreds, darkies who own those mills, who own those farms, who have us eating grits today, did not get enough respect. These are the people that you call slaves. Every time they take a scoop of grits and put it in their mouth, they should think of a Negro, a colored, a darky, an indigenous darky. Every time you take a scoop and put it in your mouth, I don't care whether you put sugar on it or butter. It don't matter whether you use sugar or butter. What matters is paying homage to the people who brought you this. That's what matters. You would have no cornbread, no fry bread if it wasn't for them turning the corn into meal. You wasn't doing that on no other land mass because y'all wasn't growing Indian corn on other land masses. You just weren't. It's still called Indian corn in the files. You know? It's called Indian corn in the files, guys. It just is what it is. It's just, is what it is. Oh, my mule. Let me show you. Let me show you something. Please click like in here, guys. Share the live. We ain't gonna be on here much longer. I just want to show you something right quick. If I could pull it up. I don't know if y'all be. It's kind of dark. Kind of dark. Kind of dark. I don't know if y'all be able to see this. Yeah, it's kind of dark. Hold my mule, hold my mule. Can I lighten this? Let's see, can I lighten this? Let me share my screen. Yeah, I don't know. That might, you might be able to see it. It's a little bit light. You might not be able to see it, but you might be able to see it. That says barley, buckwheat, and Indian corn. Oats, rye, wheat. You see this Indian corn? This is one of my clients. 1879. This is their family farm. I didn't even know existed. They just heard a rumor. And I was able to find Indian corn. Look at that. Indian corn, guys. Gee golly gosh. Well, gee golly gosh. Anyway, y'all, I didn't want to talk that long. I got some slots left on helloplants.com if you need help finding your family's land. If you heard a rumor, there are people whose email I'll be sending today. I was sending emails out all yesterday, so check your email. Just double check whether you have one from me. If you don't have your email yet, that doesn't mean I ain't working on your family, baby. It doesn't mean that. I'm coming in hot. I have finished a lot of people's stuff, typing up everything now to get it to you. Here are the slots that I have available. This just disregard the 72-hour thing. Just disregard it. If I'm able to finish it that fast, then I'll be able to finish it that fast. But I goes deep down, baby. Deep down in files, baby. I have to think outside the box. You have to think outside the box. When all you have is a rumor, you have to think outside the box, guys. And baby, they can take the damn thing. They can take the amendment all the way off if they like. These files, I don't know. I don't know what to say, guys. I don't know what to say. We are the fabric of America. That's the best way that I could put it. The actual fabric of America, the actual fabric, that's us. That's the best way I can put it. We're the actual fabric. I don't know how you even do all this genealogy. I was ready to throw the whole phone away. I love it. I just I think outside the box. I think outside the box. And I might be the freaking ancestor whisperer or something. I don't know. Cause I had one client on here. They had been looking for their family, and they got a service from me, a land service from me. And I was able to find their stuff, but I think the reason why they couldn't find it is because the names were nicknames. Now, how I was able to find it in the names were nicknames, it could be, I think I may be the whisperer. I may be an ancestor whisperer or something. I may be an ancestor whisperer or something. Yeah, you may be in the next batch. I just got another I'm doing another batch tomorrow. So some people will get emails tomorrow, but once I finish emailing this batch of people today, then another people will get That thing. Yeah, I think I might be the ancestor whisperer or something. I don't know. Either way, I'm honored and grateful. I'm honored and grateful. I'm excited to find people. It's exciting when somebody has been looking for this person, and this may be our situation someday. 100, 200 years from now, some of our descendants may be looking for us and like, well, dang, I can't find my auntie, but they said her name was Northern Belle. Like that literally may be us. That they might my descendants may be looking for a Queen Janice. Nah, cause this my great 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 auntie, but Queen Janice. I know she had land. She Queen Janice. Baby, yeah, my full name ain't even on that book. Did somebody tell them, baby, you looking for Janice? You got the Janice part right. Unless I change my first name not to Queen. Potula. And that's the same situation we're having with our ancestors. Like some of them were nicknamed out for various different reasons. Nicknamed out. But yeah, it is good to take breaks, guys. When you are searching for somebody for so long, it's good to take breaks. It's good to I start and stop too. I'll be on somebody's family, and if I get hung up, then I start on somebody else, and then I go back to this person that I was hung up on and finish, that way. Or start asking myself more questions in order. Okay, so what could this be? Could it have been this? Could it have been this? In order to find, because you're trying to get. Although I said I wasn't the land service did not include genealogy to a certain extent, I've been kind of doing it anyway, because when you're looking for land records, it may not be in the person's name that you gave me. It may be in one of their siblings' names. I've had that happen many times where this person's granddad or grandmother was not the oldest sibling. So a lot of times the land goes into the oldest sibling's name. That doesn't mean you're not an heir. That just means your grandparents or great grandparents or whoever was not the oldest sibling or the only sibling. So then I have to look at the sisters and brothers, and then find it that way. It's just, little tweaks, but you end up finding the family's land either way. Doesn't matter who name it was on it. They were all sharecroppers. They all owned a share of the land. So they all owned it equally, and their descendants own it still to this day. So I understand if you guys need to take breaks and all that. It's totally fine. Totally fine. Totally fine. You coming to Atlanta this week? Please write me so that we can connect. I may have some info that can support your search. That sounds good. Yeah, big up to Florida. Who's in Florida? But yeah, so guys, get those. I don't know how many I think I'm going to try to find another way to. I kind of told y'all I had a surprise like 2 months ago. The surprise is still coming. It's still coming. I haven't announced it yet, but it's still coming. And it's just going to be, I think, a good thing for those of us who are on this journey of finding our ancestors, finding what they did for a living, finding who they are. Like, who are you? What did you do for a living? All this stuff is very interesting, especially when you come online every day and somebody else is trying to give you a story about who you are, just like the little Native American guy that just literally sat here in our face and said, y'all was the African slaves and it was us together that helped y'all create the cuisine. I have never even seen y'all with a reputable stove in your reservation. We don't even know what you guys got to do on the reservations. You last time I seen a Native American, they was cooking on one of those The 2-eye little things. Y'all don't even cook like us. You can't cook no potted greens on no goddamn little. What you putting in the green? It's giving cosplayer. It's giving y'all ready to paint your skin brown. It's giving y'all going to the Lowe's and Home Depot to get some black brown paint so you could try to get a pecan tan. Let me get out here, y'all. If you like this kind of content, support the channel. Click like, show your love. I may be on here tomorrow. I may not be. I kind of have a file that I want to read y'all. But I may come on here and read it tomorrow. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, it's giving Meals on Wheels. That's what it's giving. It's giving Meals on Wheels. Yeah, you're not finna fry no chicken on no 2-eye little burner. The little burner, the little bitty tabletop burners. You're not finna fry no chicken on that. You're not finna cook no. You're not finna do that. My auntie said, "Class this bitch." That's right. Anyway, guys, I will see y'all possibly tomorrow. Love you guys. Bye.